Today we're going to be discussing a popular subject. I know everyone's been waiting for this one, the driver. But how could we talk about the driver without understanding the difference between that and the iron? So let's look at both. Let's look at how they work in the golf swing. Let's look at factors that relate to it. And hopefully you'll be able to understand how to use your driver to maximum effect. So it's a potential weapon for you in your golf rather than being something that puts you in the trees and behind the trouble. So the driver, obviously, when we look at it, is 43 plus inches long, lighter shaft, lighter head because of its length, and sits slightly on a flatter angle compared to most of the golf clubs. The iron, under 40 inches long, heavier shaft, heavier head, sits more vertical when we compare it to the driver. So the iron will be swung naturally on a slightly more vertical angle as it swings, and the driver will be swung naturally on a slightly flatter angle compared to the iron. Both are fine, just that they're being swung on the design of the club, the natural design of the golf club. When you make a golf club longer, it has to sit lower, like the driver. Vice versa with the iron, sits more vertical. So factors that relate to those would mean that your driver very much needs to feel, without you having to try and do this, but if you actually let the golf club swing naturally with the weight of it, it should feel like it's swinging lower, more around your right shoulder. Your iron obviously is going to feel like it's swinging more near your right ear on the backswing. And that's just the natural design of the club. Now, when we talk about that, obviously the driver has a greater circle that it travels on. So if I dress this golf ball here, and I've got my iron and my driver, as I come down into release, my driver has to feel like it releases earlier to get to be square when the ball leaves, versus with my iron, if I release that at the same time, it would be pointing to the left when the ball left, which would produce me a hook. So the iron's going to feel like a later release for most golfers, and the driver is going to feel like a lot earlier release. Now, what a lot of golfers tend to do is feel a later release for their driver, which in turn doesn't give any time, or their body isn't strong enough to be able to square the golf club face up for when the ball leaves. So your driver's going to feel like somewhere outside your right foot, the club starts to uncock and starts to roll and square up to your body to produce a straight shot. Your iron's going to probably feel like somewhere near your right foot, or even for those very advanced dynamic players, inside your right foot before it uncocks, rolls and squares up into the correct impact. So feel that. An earlier release with the driver. Now obviously too early, you'll hit a hook shot. Too late, you'll hit a slice. Work it out. Experiment. That's the trick. Same with your iron. Driver, you hit the ball more shallowly as you strike because of the flatter plane. An iron, you're hitting more down the ball with a divot because of the more vertical plane. Now, teeing up the ball. I'll put my iron away for a moment. As I go into teeing up the ball, there are different issues we have to look at. Let's focus on the ball right now. As I tee this golf ball up, as you can see, the golf ball is on the toe of the club as it's sold on the ground at address. If I go to impact, because the golf ball's in the air and I addressed it on the toe, you'll notice it's in the sweet spot as I make impact. But if I drop that back down to address on the ground, it's in the toe. So what we need to understand is that at my classic address condition, the golf club is sold and the golf ball's in line with the toe of the golf club. As I swing to the top and smoothly come down into impact, you'll notice that the golf club sweet spot is in line with the ball as the golf club is raised in the air. That's what we're looking for a square separation of sweet spot and club face and ball. Now as I go through my routine again and put the ball on the tee for a shot, I'll show you how this is done. Taking my classic address, golf club sold on the ground, in line with the toe. So let's summarise today. The drive is going to feel different to an iron, and you're going to be able to improve your driving if you understand these points. The driver shaft is flatter and longer. Therefore, the angle that the golf club is swung on is more on my right shoulder than over my right ear. As I swing down, it's going to retain that angle. As I release the golf club, it's going to start to uncock and release earlier than what it would for an iron, because the club shaft is longer and takes longer to get to impact. And as I tee it up, at address, the golf club is sold, and in the toe, and at impact, it's in the sweet spot. If you understand these points, you'll get great driving and big improvements. Good luck with it.
GolfZone TV is proudly brought to you by the GolfZone online golf shop.